I'm Simon Ditchburn. All of that there is the Cube condominium, and this episode's a little bit special because my lift is coming online, and I'm really pleased because that's going to save my legs. The last 2 or 3 episodes have been all about the storage water tanks that we've set underground, 5 of them in total, and quite a few comments on the YouTube channel and on Facebook are basically saying to me, why on earth are you doing 5 tanks? Well, the first thing is, obviously, it is part of our building permission. It's been signed by City Hall that we must have that much storage. Second thing is, you've got to think there are 94 apartments in that building, so that's a lot of water to supply. But there is another main reason, and that is the fact that Pattaya, Thailand, of course, has rainy seasons and dry seasons, and during that dry season you've got to make sure that you have enough storage. It's not going to come through the mains water. So to just demonstrate what I've just been saying to you, last weekend I took the drone out to Mapachan Lake, which is the water reservoir on the outside of the city. It's already the start of the dry season, and you just take a look at how much water has just disappeared out of that reservoir. We're coming now into the final stages of the concrete pour, which actually does two jobs here. One, it is the roof and the protector of the water tanks below. But second, we're going to use the stamp concrete to make the final decoration on this, so it becomes the driveway. And once that's completed, I can start putting in landscaping and stuff all the way around it. So if we recap on what we had there before, if you remember back in the earlier series, we had the footings, we had then the columns, the water tank went down in between. So now we have beams directly in front of me. That's what joins the column to the column, and it becomes the ridging at the bottom. Over the top of that becomes then the concrete slab, which then ends up being the driveway. So we're waiting for the concrete truck to arrive, and then we can follow on with all the action when it's here. So here's our first section of concrete that's just been poured in, and we're going to deliberately do this in sections so that we can put an expansion joint in between each section. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a flagstone pattern into that concrete while it's still wet, and the flagstones are actually set into the mould. The mould made of a very nice flexible plastic, so nice and easy to sort of manipulate it as you put it together. And as you copy that pattern into the concrete, it's clearly recreated. But we're also going to put some colours into it and then finish it off with a lacquer on the top. So we'll take you through it stage by stage, and then you can see how it works. Now for our colour scheme, we're just going with a single colour, a basic grey, because we're just producing a driveway. But there are ways you can do 2 or 3 different colours and mix all of those together. So our first step is to actually mix a skim coat made from the colour. So we have a bag of the colouring, which is basically just powder. You mix it together with the water, and that is laid as a skim coat over the top of the freshly laid concrete, and this skim coat is the part that gets stamped with the pattern. Right, next stage, you've just seen the skim coat mixed in the bucket. That's basically your colour, and then that is applied over the top of the concrete, actually skimmed over the concrete, just like you were doing finishing plastering on a wall. They spread it with a trowel nice and evenly, and then that is the cement or the skim that's actually stamped. Here's a nice close-up for you of the actual mould we're going to be using, and it is literally the flagstone that's reproduced. Here you can see all the contours. So when that is pressed into that wet skim coat, it transfers very nicely into the pattern. So you've got your first base colour, which goes on as literally that skim coat. Then we stamp the pattern into that wet cement, that wet skim coat. And then if you're going to introduce a second colour, there it comes as a form of a powder, and you can sprinkle that powder on the top after you've done the pattern, and that is your second colour going in on top. Now, to make sure we get everything in nice straight lines, we've chalked out the lines which will be the edge of the actual mould stamp, and then we basically follow the line, and then that will reproduce itself all the way down the driveway. We've just finished off tiling all of the balconies. In fact, we've actually finished the tiling to all 94 rooms now. So that's all the inside of the rooms, the kitchens and the bathrooms, all the tiling is done. But let's go back and concentrate on the balconies. With the balconies being tiled on the outside, that now releases all of the handrails, the glass and stainless steel handrails that will go around the outside. So let me fly the drone around the outside and you can see exactly how we're looking on that external. Where the balconies have been tiled, which now is brilliant because it releases my handrails and my glass sections there, fantastic. But where the last tile has gone into position on the balconies, it's actually given us an overrun of the glue and cement that's gone around the front of the building. So what we're going to have to do now is, there will be touch-ups on the outside of the building, that's inevitable, but what we have to do now is actually order ourselves a cherry picker, which is the hydraulic lift, and they'll be driving that around the outside, picking up any touch-ups and paintwork on that outside. That'll be another great one to film in the future. I'm going to take you a walk down the corridors now towards the lift, because all of the tiling and the ceramic work has actually been done inside of the rooms. So the tiling and the ceramic is now moving into the corridors. We can take a look down, and also in the corridors the main trunkings have gone in position. Now these main trunkings above my head there, these contain all of the mains power cables that supply the cables to the rooms, and also all of the communication cables. So in these trunkings inside there you have your telephone, you have your internet and your cable television. But you can see that the tiling is coming on. Then we will give a skim coat onto the walls and actually start emulsioning the walls, and of course the ceilings. Now there will be a design to the ceilings with all the downlights inside, but I think you can see that things are moving on here pretty nicely. It's coming to its finish. Well, there's my lift doors and there's my corridor being tiled. Well, we've walked down the corridor and I'm now at the point of the lifts. We've got two lifts in position and I've just lifted down the cover so that you can actually take a look. Because you can imagine a lift inside a shaft is actually quite a difficult one to film. So what you're looking at there at the moment is the top. It is the roof of the lift. It's normally the part that people wouldn't see, and if we actually put the camera inside for a second and pan up, you'll be able to see the railings and the tracks, the guide, if you like, that the lift actually follows when it goes up. So let's put the camera inside because it's something you wouldn't normally see. Now here's the part of the lift that you would almost recognise. This is the actual box cabinet that you step inside. Now some of it has started to be fitted out. We've got a mirror at the back, and we've got our aluminium side panels. They're covered with plastic at the moment, which is obviously protection, that will come off. And it looks like I've got lights in the ceiling as well, which is pretty interesting. So that is coming along nicely. And also I can see down inside the pit we've got the cable guides, and there's some buffing stoppers there. So I guess when it reaches that ground floor position, that's the bit that it can finally rest on at the bottom. Well, at the start of this video, I said that by the end of this video, we'd have a fully operational lift and I'd be able to go up and down it and save my legs. Well, I do have a fully installed lift on all 8 floors, every floor. I've got my motors, my winches, my cables. I've got my internal fit outs, lights in the roof. I've even got the little buttons where I can press to go on which floor. The disappointment is I've been told I can't use it because we're still on temporary electric. Health and safety says to me I can't go up and down the lift until the main electric is switched on. So with that disappointment, I'm still going to be walking up and down the stairs. I'll see you next time, and I'll see you then.